Alright, so we're gonna get straight into it. No BS. DJI OSMO Pocket 3. The best settings to use when shooting for beginners. Alright, so what I change immediately once I go inside of my OSMO Pocket 3 settings is swipe from the right and I go into my exposure. So normally this will be set to auto, and normally that's pretty fine, but there's quite a few settings that you need to change in your auto settings in order to get the best footage possible. So normally when shooting, chances are the sun will be pretty hot and the camera will try to compensate for both shadows and highlight. But to prevent your footage from being blown out, to make sure that your footage is always top notch, I set the EV, this is the exposure meter on the left hand side. I set it to 0.3. I set it to 0.3 or 0.7. So that means the camera will not push past that exposure level on when it's trying to compensate for light and shadows. So set it to 0.3, 0.7 and you'll be good. So you could test both to see which one you like best. On the right hand side now, this is your ISO. This is what controls your light. So normally I set mine to 50 to 800 depending on the inside lighting, but if I am going somewhere where the inside lighting is pretty good, this setting right here is ideal, and this is 50 to 800. But if it's not pretty good on the inside, I'll say push it to 1600, but do not pass 1600 because after that you will start to get noisy. But 1600 normally looks pretty good. I tested it works. So you could just copy these settings, so pause the video, look at my settings right here, set your camera on that, and you'll be good to go. So you click confirm. Next is auto white balance. So currently right now it's on auto white balance, and that's normally gets the job done. It normally gets the job done. But if you're shooting outdoors and you don't want the color of your video is fluctuating depending on what type of lighting scenario you're in, I will set it to manual and then set it to 5500 Kelvin. That's what the K stands for. Alright. So 5500 is the standard color light that the sun produces. But when you're indoors, the room lights and stuff normally are on different type of color temperature. So auto white balance normally gets the job done if you're indoors, but if you're outside, I'll say stick to manual 5500 Kelvin. But for now we're inside, so I'm going to leave it on auto white balance. You click confirm. The next settings that you see here is glamour effects. Mine is normally off, but you could turn it on if you have skin imperfections where you have blemishes, all of that. So if you know you have that and you want to smooth your skin out a bit, you could turn on glamour effects. And if you go in the DJI Mimo app, you'll see additional settings, either slim down your nose, your cheeks, pucker your lip, all of that. There's quite a few options in the Mimo app that you don't see here on the OSMO itself. Color. The next thing is color. So normal is what I recommend if you set the exposure as I showed you earlier. So you don't have to do any color grading if you're not familiar with that, even though color grading is pretty easy because they give you a conversion lot on their website that you could just go on and drag it on your footage and the quality is clean. So I suggest shooting in log because log is very good to give you more range to play with your footage, to color grade the footage in the future if you want to better your videos and craft. I say shoot in log. But for regular vloggers that don't have the time for that, normal is what's suggested. Focus mode, I leave mine on continuous or product showcase, but I'll tell you why. So for continuous is your everyday shooting mode, which is for vlogging and such. Product showcase mode is if you're a makeup influencer, anybody that showcase product while they're talking in their video, where they hold the product up to the camera like this. Product showcase mode is suitable for that kind of stuff. So any one of those two is best. Single I would not recommend because single you have to be constantly tapping the screen to where you want it focus, unless you're going for that special effect, you know. So you could use single, but you could play around with it to see how it goes. Breathing compensation, I'll say to keep that on. If you're not seeing this on your camera, that means you need to update. So turn your camera on, download the DJI Mimo app, and automatically once it's connected, it will prompt you that there's an update. So you just do that, allow it to update, and then you see these settings. So breathing compensation is what controls when you're going in and out from the camera, you will be doing a jarring thing like this, and you don't want that. So I'll say to keep breathing compensation on, and you should be good. On the other end now, you could set it to stereo or mono. So when it's on stereo, if you're using both DJI mics, one audio will be on the left and the next one is on the right. If it's on mono, it will capture both audio from both DJI mics, or if you have a dual mic connection on one channel, and you can separate it if you need to. So I'll say keep it on stereo and all is well. So with noise, keep that on. Audio direction, as I said, you have multiple mics on this. So you have front and back, and all, including the side mics as well. So you could get the 360-degree audio. All right. So that's it for that settings. Okay. So if you want to change which resolution your camera is in, you swipe up from the bottom, and you have 1080p, 2.7K, and 4K. I suggest keeping it on 4K, and all the settings you really need to change is your frame rate. So it's 24 is the cinematic frame rate that I recommend people to shoot in, but if you're a 30p person, then go for it, because the 30p gives the more soap opera documentary type of looks, but 24p gives you that movie type of looks. If you want your vlogs to be movie-like, keep it on 24p. If you plan to slow your footage down, I suggest using 48p. And when your camera is in auto, it will automatically double your frame rate for you. You won't go below what it needs to go, but you will definitely go higher. So there is additional gears and accessories that you could get for this. So when you're ready to evolve more into shooting and understand how the shooting works, you will definitely be needing an ND filter. And then once you get that ND filter, you start to ask what is shutter speed and how it works and all of that. So to make it quick and easy, when you're shooting in 48, your shutter speed must be double 48. So that would be 96 or something like that. Yeah, thereabout, if my math is off or wrong. So you don't have 96, but you have 100. For slow motion, 48. For regular motion, 24. That's it. All right. So if you swipe down from the top, you'll see additional settings, right? So none of this is really important right now, because what they're set on straight out of the box is pretty good, but I'm going to tell you the modes that I keep mine on. So for the follow speed, I set it on fast, because I want to, when I turn the camera, it moves same time to capture the action and we don't miss anything. Then the gimbal modes, I keep mine on FPV, because that's what gives you the dynamic movement, because the camera follow anywhere or anything that your hand is doing. So that's what I keep it on. And there's other modes as well that you could keep it or set it on if you want, but I'm talking about my settings that gives me the best footage possible. All right, so tracking, that's the icon in the top right corner. Once you turn it on, it follows whatever person or face that the camera sees first. So you only can focus on moving the gimbal, and it will keep the person in the center at all times. All right. And in the settings, if you go in the settings now, you'll see the mic settings where you can control the volume, clipping, all of that. Once you connect a mic, I'll say to make sure that clipping control is on, so you don't peak your audio, so you have good quality audio at all times. All right. And gimbal startup direction, mine is set to forward, because I like to shoot stuff, not myself. So it's always on forward. But if you're a vlogger, you set it to backwards. All right. The next footage I'll suggest you turn on is the built-in mic audio backup. What that does is when you have a wireless mic connected, the camera itself will record audio the same way. So whatever is not picking up on the mic, the OSMO Pocket 3 will pick it up. So basically, it's picking up the ambient sounds around you. So other than that, that's all I really change on this. Nothing more, nothing less. And once you do that, just remember, the exposure is your best friend. So once you set it to auto and do the settings that I said in the beginning, you'll be getting good footage in no time. All right. One more thing that I forgot to touch on. So the custom adjustments down here. This is your sharpness and your noise reduction. So what is noise reduction? Noise reduction is the grains that you see in footages when you're shooting even on your phone at nights and you see a lot of grain, noise reduction is what remove those grains out of your footage. So mine is set to -1, or you could go -2 if you're not much of an editor, but I normally noise reduce my footage in editing. But for you, I'll say set it to -2. I set my sharpness to 0 because I don't want it to look too smooth. I kind of like that digital look, similar to what the iPhones give, but there's a lot of people that put theirs to -2, but I keep mine on 0 and it works well for me. So that's pretty much it. So see you in the next one. And as always, like, share, and subscribe.